Headlines made it sound like FIFA was selling the World Cup. The stranger truth? FIFA wanted to raise up to $4.2 billion by selling roughly 20% of a business, while keeping the other 80%. Its own announcement promised that investors would hold minority, non-controlling stakes. Quote, "For FIFA, nothing changes." And yet, within 72 hours, the proposal was untenable, and by day 4, FIFA itself pulled the plug. So here's the question this whole video hangs on. If nothing was going to change, why did football treat this deal as an existential threat? The answer explains why walking away made sense. It also gives you one question to ask before you accept any salary, any equity round, any deal that buys a piece of your control. Here's how fast it collapsed. Day 1. FIFA announces a plan to move the World Cup's commercial rights into a $20 billion entity and starts courting billions in outside capital. Day 2. Europe revolts, and it isn't alone. The confederations for North and Central America and for Asia raise their own objections. Day 3. All 55 European federations agree, unanimously, to boycott FIFA competitions, including the World Cup itself, for as long as the plan stays alive. Day 4. One of FIFA's most senior advisors resigns in protest. Hours later, FIFA announces the proposal will not proceed. So what exactly was on the table? The plan was called FIFA Forward Enterprise. Take everything that makes the World Cup money, media rights, ticketing, licensing, sponsorship, move it into a new commercial company valued at $20 billion. Sell investors a minority stake, with the group expected to be led by Joshua Kushner's permanent capital company, Thrive Eternal, and JP Morgan Advising. And the money wasn't just for headquarters. Development funding for every national federation would more than double. $20 million each over 4 years, with up to $20 million more for special projects. FIFA even kept exclusive authority over the rules, the calendar, the competitions. On paper, football got richer without surrendering formal control. And still, the coalition with the power to stop it said no. UEFA called it a line that football's governing institutions should never cross. Its statement put it bluntly: no one has the moral authority to sell what they merely hold in trust for the next generation. Carlos Cordero, a senior advisor to the FIFA president himself, resigned, calling it a bad deal for football. A bad deal? Billions in, majority kept, funding doubled? Your first instinct is probably the same as mine. This is politics. Greedy FIFA, angry fans, rivals defending turf. And honestly, politics and distrust were in the room. The plan landed as an ambush, announced with little consultation and a deadline attached. That explains the anger. But beneath it sat a risk calculation that helps explain why the resistance became unanimous. The check had a limit. Everyone could read the number. The consequences didn't come with one. Change who holds a claim on the World Cup's money machine, and the effects arrive over decades, in ways nobody, including FIFA, could price in advance. Careful institutions treat that kind of trade differently, which raises the real question. FIFA promising it kept control. Legally, it did. So how does a minority, non-controlling stake threaten anything? Keep 3 things in view as we answer that. What's reversible? What new incentive enters the system? And who gains a claim? That framework makes sense of football's refusal, whatever mix of motives drove each federation. Start with the incentive, because it's easiest to see in a machine. In 2016, researchers at OpenAI trained an AI to play a boat racing game and rewarded it for score. The boat found a lagoon where it could spin in circles, hitting the same bonus targets forever, on fire, crashing into walls, never finishing the race. It beat human players' scores by about 20%. The AI wasn't broken. It was doing exactly what it was rewarded to do. Institutions aren't reinforcement learners. Pressure runs through contracts and boardrooms, not code. But the tendency is the same. Systems drift toward whatever the structure actually rewards, not whatever the founders intended. So what does outside investment install? FIFA already tried to maximize revenue. That's not new. What's new is somebody else expecting a return. That creates constant pressure to deliver the easiest thing to measure: growth. The lead investor was pitched as permanent capital, so the classic buy and exit cycle may not apply. But even permanent capital expects returns, protections, and influence over the value of its stake. Minority investors at this scale often negotiate real levers too: board representation, consent rights on big decisions. Did this deal include them? Nobody outside the room could know. The terms were never published. And that was exactly the objector's problem. Paper control and practical pressure are not the same thing, and they were being asked to trust the paper sight unseen. Revenue used to be evidence that football was healthy. Make revenue growth the thing the structure must deliver. And, as Goodhart's law warns, the measure stops serving the mission and starts steering it. If that still sounds theoretical, football had a real-world experiment to study. In 2001, motorsport's governing body granted an exclusive license to Formula One's commercial rights for 100 years, for an upfront fee of about $313 million. In 2017, Liberty Media acquired the business built around those rights in a deal valuing it at roughly $8 billion. The FIA still governs the sport, the rules, the safety, the racing, but the commercial future of Formula One is licensed elsewhere until the year 2110. A century-long exclusive license is a far more extreme surrender than a minority stake. That's what made it such a vivid warning. Whatever the signatories believed in 2001, the commercial consequences ran far beyond the original payment. Long-lived rights compound in ways one-time payments never do. So here's the model in 3 steps. Call it the control rights test. 1. Split the offer in 2. The cash is one-time and has a number. The control cost is long-lived and hard to reverse. 2. Name the new incentive the deal installs, because the system will drift toward it. 3. Compare the doors. Saying no costs something real, but it leaves more futures open. Saying yes on long-lived rights is close to a one-way door. Cash has a number. Control has consequences. And now the honest part. Nobody knows that FIFA forward enterprise would have damaged football. FIFA's safeguards might have held. Minority stakes with tight fences sometimes change very little. And refusing was not free. The proposal was meant to lift FIFA's total development spending above $10 billion, and rejecting it meant giving up that boost. Football wasn't choosing between free money and risk. It was giving up a large, visible benefit to avoid a governance cost that might never materialize, but that nobody could price and nobody could easily undo. That's the lesson. When the benefit is measurable and the risk is hard to price and hard to reverse, refusing can be rational, even when you can't run the full calculation. Not fear, judgment under uncertainty. Which brings us to you, because the same trade will cross your desk. It just won't say $20 billion on it. It'll say a bigger salary, but your decisions now need 3 approvals. Funding for your startup at the cost of a board seat that later helps pick your successor. A brand deal if the sponsor gets a say in your content. Before you sign, ask the question at the heart of football's refusal. After this deal, who do I answer to, and what do they reward? Then run the check that never lies. Write down 2 lists. First, who can block your decisions today? Second, whose returns, expectations, or reactions your decisions will have to satisfy after the deal. If either list gets longer, your control has changed, even if your voting rights haven't. So, what was worth more than $4.2 billion? Not the 80%, not the trophy, the right to decide what football optimizes for. Because over time, every system becomes what it is rewarded to become. Change the reward, and you've changed the future, no matter whose name stays on the door. If you like finding the hidden rule beneath the story, subscribe. And keeping your options open has a cost too. So when should you stop exploring and commit? That's the mathematics behind the next story. A striker who bet his career on one moment. It's on screen now.